Yes? So this is going on day in, day out, day in, day out. Maybe Sunday you have some time. I don't know. You want to read a little, then the family also. So many things to do. Correct? And either the husband will complain or the wife will complain. Some complaint will go on. Correct? You're not spending time with the children. You doing your why you so many headaches. Correct? Yes. And the children not doing well in school, another headache. I mean, listen, this is all facts, correct? And if the child gets sick, even bigger headache. You understand? I know, with the family life. It is more difficult than the yogi sitting in the Himalayas. Do you know that? The yogi in the Himalayas, he doesn't suffer so much as the householder. Tremendous pressure, correct? Your mind, other mind, demigods, headache. You understand this thing? So in order to overcome all these things, association, that's why it's Prahlad, Yudhishthira says, householders, how they can make progress? Again and again, they must associate with devotees. Right? Besides this gathering, of course, Sunday is one thing, but Sunday is a different. We cannot speak all this on Sunday. This one is just purely question and answer. You want to clear your heart. Yes, as far as I can. I don't know how much I can, but as much I can understand. I show the relevant verses and the points. I hope it is sufficiently helping. Yeah? Yes. So we hear. Not only you, I'm also reading. I'm also hearing. Yes. Krishna is very kind. Before I came to this class, I think 2 days back or 3 days back, I was reading all this CC 8 chapter. Why I have to go and read that? And if today you are asking the question, say, who is arranging all this? I arranging. No, I also don't know. I just, let me see this verse, it came into my mind because I was thinking of one thing, and I know it is in that side. Especially, Krishna is mercy. He will give everything, but he will not give devotion. So I was looking at that, and then all this. And sure enough, today is asking this question. So who is guiding me? I don't know. I don't know anything. Yes. And today is the subject about. So how I explain? By Laka, by Pruda. I know everything. I know Krishna is in the heart. All right. Yes. So you do that. You simply come here. That's why there's one verse in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Simply from hearing the authorities, one becomes perfect. You understand? Just come and hear. That's all. Yes? And by and by and by and by, you will be able to control your mind. When you control your mind, then Super Soul is rich. Right? How you control your mind? By having transcendental intelligence. That is the secret. And Krishna said, I give you that. And how you will give? And as you devote himself to him? Yes? Yes or no? Otherwise, why you should give? You will not give. Correct? So, okay, take up the process, chant happily, and always inquire. If you have doubt, you inquire. Otherwise, you read. As long as you can keep your mind focused on Krishna, your life is successful. That is all the secret. The secret is to bring Krishna into your. You understand? And how you do it? Your expertise. Correct? You can see a glass, half full or half empty. Yeah? So if you see something and you can bring Krishna inside there, that's it, your mind will not be agitated. Correct? But you see something and you think of completely Maya, then The senses act with sense object, lust develop, lust anger, greed, so on one by one. It will go. Yes. So you have to think, no, I shouldn't be thinking of this topic. The mind will, very powerful mind, just moment it will take you away. And then it start giving you all wild ideas. Yeah? Right or not? Especially start making you think. Very expert, this mind will make you think like you are a big saint, And then they look at everybody as for see, sleeping, see this one, see that one, see. And that way you think you're what? Very proud. You understand? Mind. That's why the whole Shastra says don't count on your mind. It's your biggest enemy. And that is all the problem. Nothing else is the problem. The mind. Always giving all crazy ideas. Yes? That's why we can only think of good of others. Then your heart will become very pure. And you cannot think like that unless you are transcendental. You follow? As you are, in what level your mind only will think in that way, Pure devotee, he thinks different. Middle class thinks different. Neophyte thinks different. You follow? That's all already been described by Krishna. Everything, what level you are, how to overcome, everything is. Only thing we need to know the technique. It's not impossible. Krishna, Arjuna was saying the mind is so difficult to control, but Krishna never says it's impossible. Krishna says yes, but by practice, abhyasa yoga yuktena, etasanam gamvina. See, so practice. Why are you telling you wake up and come, push yourself? Very difficult. Every life, this thing is until your children all grow up, and then they also headache. Then they dump the grandchildren to you, another headache. You understand? Then another thing is going to headache. Take them to school to do so many things. You understand? See how you see their lives on the same pattern over and over and over again. Punas charvita charvananam, repeatedly chewing the chew. That's all it is. You understand? So we want to break this cycle, break the attention. All this requires strength, and that only can come from Krishna and the spiritual master. As long as you are hooked up to a solid temple which has got this program, then you are safe. You understand? You sleep, I sleep, everybody sleeps. Then how? Mangalarti, no, it's too difficult. We'll have it at 10 o'clock in the morning. No, we just go straight lunch. Because we have to eat now. You see the temple standard? Which temple in Singapore, even the Hare Krishna, are waking up at which temple? Which one? Tell me. Nobody. Nobody. You understand? Your Perumal temple, you Telugu all running to your Perumal temple, right? What is going on there? What is going on there? 8 o'clock, huh? What? Understand? Nonsense. What? So you think about it. You follow. And if you don't surrender, there's no way today. You don't surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Forget it. Not going to make it. Yes? Okay. You go. 10:30 already. All glories to all of you. Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमां विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वाकता कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृद्यन्तस्तो य भद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the person of Godhead Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasdev, the author. Sri Krishna, the person of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the person of Godhead who is praised with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Nanda Gaudiya Vaishnava ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Pranjal Prabhu and Lucky Prabhu, Tanda Pram, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, stand up, Lord, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Will you start, Prabhu?
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Bol.
Text 23. Yes,
We
Prabhu.
ready? 40.
Text 24. Ahimsaya paramahasya charayaya smritya mukunda charitagraya sidhuna yamair akamai niyamais chapya anityaya nirshreya Dvandva Vivikshaya cha synonyms Ahimsaya by non-violence, Paramahamsaya Charaya by following the footsteps of great acharyas, Smritya by remembering Mukunda. You can scroll Prabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parikshita Agraya, simply preaching his activities, Sidhuna by the nectar, Yamai by following regulative principles, Akamai without material desires, Niyama by strictly following the rules and regulations, Cha also, Api certainly, Anindaya without blasphemy, Nirhaya living simply, plain living, Dvandva duality, Titikshaya by tolerance, Cha and translation purport by Swami Bhakti Samshaya Prabhupada Hija. Translation: a candidate for spiritual advancement must be non-violent, must follow in the footsteps of great acharyas, must always remember the nectar of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, must follow the regulative principles without material desire, and while following the regulative principles, should not blaspheme others. A devotee should lead a very simple life and not be disturbed by the duality of opposing elements. He should learn to tolerate them. Purport: the devotees are actually saintly persons or sadhus. The first qualification of a sadhu or a devotee is ahimsa or non-violence. Persons interested in the path of devotional service or in going back home, back to Godhead, must first practice ahimsa or non-violence. A sadhu is described as titikshava karunika, Bhagavatam 3:25-21. A devotee should be tolerant and should be very much compassionate towards others. For example, if he suffers personal injury, he should tolerate it. But if someone else suffers injury, he need not tolerate it. The whole world is full of violence, and a devotee's first business is to stop this violence, including the unnecessary slaughter of animals. A devotee is friend not only of human society but of all living entities, for he sees all living entities as sons of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does not claim himself to be the only Son of God and allow others to be killed, thinking that they have no soul. This kind of philosophy is never advocated by a pure devotee of the Lord. Surita Sarvadevina. A true devotee is the friend of all living entities. Krishna claims in Bhagavad Gita to be the father of all species of living entities. Consequently, the devotee of Krishna is always friend of all. This is called ahimsa. Such non-violence can be practiced only when one follows in the footsteps of great acharyas. Therefore, according to our Vaishnava philosophy, we have to follow the great acharyas and the four sampradayas, or disciplic successions. Trying to advance in spiritual life outside the disciplic succession is simply ludicrous. It is said, therefore, Acharyam Acharyavan Purusho Veda. Chandogya Upanishad 6:14-2. One who follows the disciplic succession of acharyas knows things as they are. Tadvigyanatham sargurum evabhigachet. Mukunda Upanishad 1-12. In order to understand the transcendental science, one must approach the bona fide spiritual master. The word smritya is very important in spiritual life. Smritya means remembering Krishna always. Life should be molded in such a way that one cannot remain alone without thinking of Krishna. We should live in Krishna so that while eating, sleeping, walking, and working, we remain only in Krishna. Our Krishna Consciousness Society recommends that we arrange our living so that we can remember Krishna. In our ISKCON society, the devotees, while engaged in making spiritual sky incense, are also hearing about the glories of Krishna or his devotees. The Shastras recommend Smartavya Satatam Vishnu. Smartavya Satatam Vishnu. Lord Vishnu should be remembered always, constantly. Vismartavya Najatachit. Vishnu should Vishnu should never be forgotten. That is the spiritual way of life. Smritya. This remembrance of the Lord can be continued if we hear about him constantly. It is therefore recommended in this verse. Mukunda Charitakrya Situna. Situ means nectar. To hear about Krishna from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad Gita or similar authentic literature is to live in Krishna consciousness. Such concentration in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by persons who are strictly following rules and regulatory principles. We have recommended in our Krishna consciousness movement that a devotee chant 16 rounds of on beats daily and must follow all regulatory principles. That will help the devotee to achieve spiritual advance in life. It is also stated in this verse that by controlling the senses, one can become a Swami or Goswami. One who is therefore enjoying this super title, Swami or Goswami, must be very strict in controlling his senses. Indeed, he must be a master of his senses. This is possible when one does not desire any material sense gratification. If by chance the senses want to work independently, he must control them. If we simply practice avoiding material sense gratification, controlling the senses is automatically achieved. Another important point mentioned in this connection, Anindaya, is that we should not criticize others' methods of religion. There are different types of religious systems operating under different qualities of material nature. Those operating in the modes of ignorance and passion cannot be as perfect as that system in the mode of goodness. In Bhagavad Gita, everything has been divided into three qualitative methods. Therefore, religious systems are similarly categorized. When people are mostly under the modes of passion and ignorance, their system of religion will be of the same quality. A devotee, instead of criticizing such systems, will encourage the followers to stick to their principles so that gradually they can come to the platform of religion and goodness. Simply by criticizing them, a devotee's mind will be agitated. Thus, a devotee should tolerate and learn to stop agitation. Another feature of the devotee is nirhaya, simple living. Nirha means gentle, meek, or simple. A devotee should not live very gorgeously and imitate a materialistic person. Plain living and high thinking are recommended for a devotee. He should accept only so much as he can keep the material body fit for execution of devotional service. He should not eat or nor sleep more than is required. Simple eating for living and not living for eating and sleeping only 6 to 7 hours a day are principles to be followed by devotees. As long as the body is there, it is subjected to threefold miseries of material existence. We cannot avoid them. Sometimes we receive letters from neophyte devotees questioning why have they fallen sick, although pursuing Krishna consciousness. They should learn from this verse that they have to become tolerant. Dvandva titikshaya. This is the word of duality. Because he has fallen sick, one should not think that he has fallen from Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness can continue without impediment from any material opposition. Lord Sri Krishna therefore advises in Bhagavad Gita, Samstitikshasva Bharata. My dear Arjuna, please try to tolerate all these disturbances. Be fixed in your Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad Gita 2:14. Very big purport. Text 25. Harer Muhustat Parak Karnapura Guna Vilhanina Vajram Bhavanaya Bhaktya Asanga Sat Asas Asatya Anatmani Syanirgunu Brahmani Chanjasavati Hare of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who constantly Tatpara, in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Karnapura, decoration of the ear. Guna Abhidhanena, discussing transcendental qualities. Vitrimbramanaya, by increasing Krishna consciousness. Bhaktya, by devotion. He certainly. Asanga, uncontaminated. Sat Asati, the material world. Anatmani, opposed to spiritual understanding. Syat, should be. Nirgune, in transcendence. Brahmani, in the Supreme Lord. Sha, and Anjasa, easily. Rati, attraction. Translation: the devotee should gradually increase the culture of devotional service by constantly hearing of the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These pastimes are like ornamental decorations on the ears of devotees. By rendering devotional service and transcending the material qualities, one can easily be fixed in transcendence in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: this verse is especially mentioned to substantiate the devotional process of hearing the subject matter. A devotee does not like to hear anything other than the subjects dealing with spiritual activities or the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can increase our propensity for devotional service by hearing Bhagavad Gita or Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from realized souls. The more we hear from the realized souls, the more we make advancement in our devotional life. The more we advance in devotional life, the more we become detached from the material world. The more we become detached from the material world, the less we associate with materialistic persons. Persons who are after money and sense gratification. This is the advice of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nishkinchanasya bhagavat bhajo mukhasya param param jigham bhavasat ध्रुवस्य संदर्शनं विषयिणम् अथ योषितां च आहन्त अन्तविषभक्षयन् शान्तो प्रसुधा Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 11:8. The word Brahmani used in this verse is commented upon the impersonalists or professional reciters of Bhagavatam, who are mainly advocates of the caste system by demoniac birthright. They say that Brahmani means the impersonal Brahman, but they cannot conclude this without reference to the context of the word Bhaktya and Gunabhidena. According to impersonalists, there are no transcendental qualities in the impersonal Brahman. Therefore, we should understand that Brahmani means in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as admitted by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, wherever the word Brahma is used, it must refer to Krishna, not to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Brahmaiti Paramatmaiti Bhagavaniti Shaktyate. Bhagavatam 1:2-11. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan can all be taken in total as Brahman. But when there is a reference to the word bhakti, a remembrance of the transcendental qualities, the word indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the impersonal Brahman. Text 26. Yada ratir brahmani naishtiki saman acharyavan jnana viraga ram vasa dahatya aviryam vidayam जीवकोशान् पञ्चात्मकान् योनिं विभूतितो me yada when prati attachment Brahmani in the Supreme Personality of Godhead Naishtiki fixed Oman the person Acharyavan completely surrendered to the spiritual master. Jnana, knowledge, viraga, detachment, ramhasa, by the force of the burns, aviryam, important, hridayam, within the heart, jiva, kosham, the covering of the spirit soul, pancha atmakam, five elements, yoni, source of birth, iva, like, uttita, emanating, agni, fire. Translation: upon being fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of the spiritual master, and by awakening knowledge and detachment, the living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the five elements burns up his material surroundings, exactly as fire arising from wood burns the wood itself. Can I reread it? Translation: upon becoming fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the grace of the spiritual master and by awakening knowledge and detachment, the living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the five elements burns up his material surroundings, exactly as fire arising from wood burn the wood itself. Okay, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, from the spiritual master, we get knowledge and detachment. And then the living entity gets out of the five elements, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu. Purport: it is said that Jivatma, the individual soul, and Paramatma live together within the heart. In the Vedic version, it is stated, Vidhi Kshama Shayam Atma, the soul and the super soul both live within the heart. The individual soul is liberated when it comes out of the material heart and cleanses the heart to make it spiritualized. The example given here is very appropriate. Yoni ivottito Agni. Agni or fire comes out of the wood, and by it the wood is completely destroyed. Similarly, when a living entity increases his attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is to be considered like fire. A blazing fire is visible by its exhibition of heat and light. Similarly, when the living entity within the heart becomes enlightened with full spiritual knowledge and detachment from material world, he burns up the material covering of the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and sky, and becomes free from the five kinds of material attachments, namely ignorance, false egoism, attachment to the material world, envy, and absorption in material consciousness. Therefore, Panchatmakam, as mentioned in this verse, refers to either the five elements or the five coverings of the material contamination. When these are all burned up into ashes by the blazing fire of knowledge and detachment, one is fixed firmly in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and advances his attraction for Krishna by his instructions, the five coverings of the living entity cannot be uncovered from the material heart. The living entity is centered within the heart, and to take him away from the heart is to liberate him. This is the process. One must take shelter by spiritual master and by his instructions increase one's knowledge and service, becomes detached from the become liberated. And one's devotee, therefore, does not live within the material world, but within his spiritual body, just as a dry coconut leaves detached from the coconut husk, even though within the husk. The pure devotee's body is therefore called Chinmaya Sharira, spiritualized body. In other words, a devotee's body is not connected with material activities, and as such, a devotee is always liberated. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate, Bhavate Bhavita 14:26. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Srila Rupa Goswami confirms this. इह यस्य हरेर्तास्य कर्मणा मनसा वाचा निखिलस्वप्य अवस्थासु जीवन्मुक्त sauchate. One who is engaged in full with his body, mind, and speech in the service of the Lord is liberated even within this body, despite his condition. The example is very nicely given.
Yes, Prabhu.
Text 27. दक्षयो मुक्तः समस्ततद्गुणो नैवात्मनो बहिः अन्तर्विचस्ते परात्मनोर्यद्व्यवधानं पुरुषस्तत् स्वप्ने यथा पुरुषस्तद् विनाशे दग्ध asaya. All material desires being burned. Mukta, liberated. Samasta, all. Tadguna, qualities in connection with the master. Na, not. Eva, certainly. Atmana, the soul or the supersoul. Bahi, external. Anta, turn, internal. Vichasti, acting. Para Atmano, the supersoul. Yet that. Vyavadhanam, difference. Parapurustat, as it was in the beginning. Swapne, in dream. Yatha, as Purusha, a person. Tat, that. Vinashe, being finished. Translation. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires and liberated from all material qualities, he transcends distinction between actions executed externally and internally. At that time, the difference between the soul and the supersoul, which was existing before self-realization, is annihilated. When a dream is over, there is no longer a distinction between the dream and the dreamer. Purport, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami, Anya Bilashita Shunyam. One must be devoid of all material desires. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires, there is no longer need for speculative knowledge or fruitive activities. In that condition, it is to be understood that one is free from the material body. The example is already given above. A coconut, which is dry, is loosened from its outward husk. That is the stage of liberation. As said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Mukti, liberation means Swarupena Avastita, being situated in one's constitutional position. All material desires are present as long as one is in the bodily concept of life. But when one realizes that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, his desires are no longer material. A devotee acts in this consciousness. In other words, when material desires in connection with the body are finished, one is actually liberated. When one is liberated from the material qualities, He does not do anything for his personal sense gratification. At that time, all activities performed by him are absolute. In that conditioned state, there are two kinds of activities. One acts on behalf of the body, and at the same time, he acts to become liberated. The devotee, when he is completely free from all material desires or all material qualities, transcends the duality of the action for the body and the soul. Then the bodily concept of life is completely over. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Iha yasya hareridasye karmana manasa vacha nikhilashu api avastasu jivan muktasu uchyate. When one is completely fixed in the service of the Lord, he is a liberated person in any condition of life. He is called Jivan Mukta, liberated even within this body. In such a liberated condition, there is no distinction between the actions for sense gratification and actions for liberation. When one is liberated from desires of sense gratification, he has no longer to suffer the reactions of lamentation or illusion. Activities performed by the karmis and jnanis are subjected to lamentation and illusion, but a self-realized liberated person acting only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead experiences none. This is the stage of oneness or merging into the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that the individual soul, while keeping his individuality, no longer has separate interests. He is in the service of the Lord, fully in the service of the Lord, and he has nothing to do for his personal sense gratification. Therefore, he sees only the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not himself. His personal interest completely perishes. When a person comes out of a dream, the dream vanishes. While dreaming, a person may consider himself a king and see the royal paraphernalia, his soldiers, etc. But when the dream is over, he does not see anything beyond himself. Similarly, a liberated person understands that he is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, acting in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. And as such, there is no distinction between himself and the Supreme Lord, although both of them retain their individuality. Nitya Nityanam Chaitanyas. This is the perfect conception of oneness in relation to the Super Soul and the Soul. So, Prabhu, here it is said that the Supreme Lord and the Soul, both of them retain their individuality. What it means, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
No, Prabhu, I was saying what it means actually.
One second, let's read. Yes, Prabhu. It's here explained. Yes, Prabhu, they're the same, but they're individual.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, if somebody wants to continue.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Who's there?
Thank you,
Oh,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Vivek Prabhu, Danda Pram, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Who would like to read? Pranjal Prabhu, Vivek Prabhu. Oh, lucky Prabhu just left. Okay, Haribol. I can read also. Atmanam indriyartam cha param yadubayorapi satya shaya upa dauvai puman pashyati nanyata. Atmanam, the soul, indriya artam, for sense gratification, cha, and param, transcendental, yat, that. Ubayo, both, api, certainly, sati, being situated, ashaye, material desires, upadau, designation, by, certainly, puman, the person, pashyati, sees, nanyada, not otherwise. Translation. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the soul exists, when the soul exists for sense gratification, he creates different desires, and for that reason he becomes subjected to designations. But when one is in the transcendental position, he is no longer interested in anything except fulfilling the desires of the Lord. Purport. Being covered by material desires, a spirit soul is also considered to be covered by designations belonging to a particular type of body. Thus, he considers himself an animal, man, demigod, bird, beast, etc. In so many ways, he is influenced by false identification caused by false egotism, and being covered by illusory material desires, he distinguishes between matter and spirit. When one is devoid of such distinctions, there is no longer a difference between matter and spirit. At that time, the spirit is the only predominating factor. As long as one is covered by material desires, he thinks himself the master of the enjoyer. Thus he acts for sense gratification and becomes subjected to material pangs. Happiness and distress. Oh, material pangs, happiness and distress. How is this spelled? Pang. Is it with A or... Anyways, let's go. But when one is freed from such a concept of life, he is no longer subjected to designations, and he envisions everything as spiritual in connection with the Supreme Lord. This is explained by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anya Shaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upajunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Muchate 255. The liberated person has no attachment for anything material or for sense gratification. He understands that everything is connected with the Supreme Person of Godhead and that everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not give up anything. There is no question of renouncing anything because the Paramahamsa knows how to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Originally, everything is spiritual, nothing is material. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also it is explained that the Mahabhagavata, a highly advanced devotee, has no material vision. Stavara Jangama Dikhe na Dikhe Taramurti Sarvatrahaya Nija Ishtadeva Spurti. Madhya Lila 8 274. Although he sees trees, mountains, and other living entities moving here and there, he sees all as the creation of the Supreme Lord, and with reference to the context, sees only the creator and not the created. In other words, he no longer distinguishes between the created and the creator. He sees only the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything. He sees Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna. This is oneness. Let's read this part again. In other words, he no longer distinguishes between the created and the creator. Although he sees trees, mountains, and other living entities moving here and there, he sees all this as the creation of the Supreme Lord. And with reference to the context, he sees only the creator and not the created. In other words, he no longer distinguishes between the created and the creator. He sees only the Supreme Person of Godhead in everything. He sees Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna. This is oneness. Really nice. Hare Krishna, Shubham Prabhu Dandapram, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Narottam to all of you, Jai Sri Prabhupada.
Thank you for joining, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I am very pleased to hear your transcendental voice from Delhi.
No, my voice is crow voice, Prabhu. Your voice is better.
No, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, Haribol. Let's read text number 29. Nimitte sati sarvatra jaladavapi purusha atmanascha parashyapi vidam pashyati nanjada. Nimitte, on account of causes, sati being, sarvatra, everywhere, jala adau api, water and other reflecting mediums, purusha, the person, atmana, oneself, cha, and parasyapi, another self, vidam, differentiation, pashyati, sees, nanyada, there is no other reason. Translation. Only because of different causes does a person see a difference between himself and others. It is like the reflection of a body on water or oil, or in a mirror appearing to be differently manifested. Only because of different causes does a person see a difference between himself and others. It is like the reflection of a body on a water or oil, or in a mirror appearing to be differently manifested. Purport. The spirit soul is one, the supreme person of Godhead. He is manifested in Svamsha and Vibhinamsha expansions. The Jivas are Vibhinamsha expansions. The different incarnations of the Supreme Person of Godhead are Svamsha expansions. Thus there are different potencies of the Supreme Lord, and there are different expansions of the different potencies. In this way, for different reasons, there are different expansions of the same one principle, the Supreme Person of Godhead. This understanding is real knowledge, but when the living entity is covered by the upadhi or designated body, he sees differences exactly as one sees differences in reflections of oneself on water, oil, or in a mirror. When something is reflected on the water, it appears to be moving. When it is reflected on ice, it appears fixed. When it is reflected on oil, it appears hazy. The subject is one, but under different conditions, it appears differently. When the qualifying factor is taken away, the whole appears to be one. In other words, when one comes to the Paramahamsa or perfectional stage of life by practicing Bhakti Yoga, he sees only Krishna everywhere. For him, there is no other objective. In conclusion, due to different causes, the living entity is visible in different forms as an animal, human being, demigod, tree, etc. Actually, every living entity is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is explained that one who actually sees the spirit soul does not distinguish between a learned Brahmana and a dog, an elephant or a cow. Pandita Samadarshina 5.18 Bhagavad Gita. One who is actually learned sees only the living entity, not the outward covering. Differentiation is therefore the result of different karma or fruitive activities, and when we stop fruitive activities, turning them into acts of devotion, we can understand that we are not different from anyone else, regardless of the form. This is only possible in Krishna consciousness. In this movement, there are many different races of man from all parts of the world participating, but because they think of themselves as servant of the Supreme Person of Godhead, they do not differentiate between black and white, yellow and red. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore the only means to make the living entities transcend all designations. Text number 30. Indriyar Krishtair akshiptam dhyayatam mana chetanam harate buddhe stambashtoyam iva hradat. Indriya by the senses, Vishaya the sense objects, Krishtai, being attracted, akshiptam, agitated, dhyayatam, always thinking of, manaha, mind, chetanam, consciousness, harate, becomes lost, buddhe, of intelligence, tamba, big straws, toyam, water, iva, like, radad, from the lake. Translation. When one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost, like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass straws on its bank. Translation again. When one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost, like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass troughs on its bank. Purport. In this verse, it is very nicely explained how our original Krishna consciousness becomes polluted. Gradually, we become almost completely forgetful of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. In the previous verse, it is recommended that we should always keep in touch with the devotional service of the Lord, so that the blazing fire of devotional service can gradually burn into ashes material desires and we can become liberated from the repetition of birth and death. This is also how we can indirectly keep our staunch faith in the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the mind is allowed to think of sense gratification continuously, it becomes the cause of our material bondage. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification.
Yes, Prabhu, this verse is completely applied to me, I think, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. This is my problem too. Let's read it again. I'm getting called out here. Let's see. In the previous verse, it is recommended that we should always keep in touch with the devotional service of the Lord, so that the blazing fire of devotional service can gradually burn into ashes material desires and we become liberated from the repetition of birth and death. This is also how we can indirectly keep our staunch faith in the lotus feet of the Supreme Person of Godhead. When the mind is allowed to think of sense gratification continuously, it becomes the cause of our material bondage. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. If one takes up the sannyas order of life but is not able to control the mind, he will think of objects of sense gratification, namely family, society, expensive house, etc. Even though he goes to the Himalayas or the forest, his mind will continue thinking of the objects of sense gratification. In this way, gradually one's intelligence will be affected. When intelligence is affected, one loses his original taste for Krishna consciousness. So we need to be careful with this mind. We need to increase the service if the mind is doing some rascal things. The example given here is very appropriate. If a big lake is covered all around by lonkusha grass, just like columns, the waters dry up. Similarly, when the big columns of material desires increase, the clear water of consciousness is dried up. Therefore, these columns of kusha grass should be cut or thrown away from the very beginning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed that if from the very beginning we do not take care of unwanted grass in the paddy fields, the fertilizing agents or water will be used by them and the paddy plants will dry up. The material desires for sense enjoyment is the cause of our fall down in the material world. Thus we suffer the threefold miseries and continuous birth, death, old age, and disease. However, if we turn our desires toward transcendental loving service of the Lord, or desires become purified. We cannot kill desires. We have to purify them of different designations. If we constantly think of being a member of a particular nation, society, or family, and continuously think about them, we become very strongly entangled in the conditioned life of birth and death. But if our desires are applied to the service of the Lord, they become purified, and thus we become immediately freed from material contamination. Who's next? Let's read Haribol, text number Hare Krishna, Dheeraj Prabhu, Dandal Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, stand up, Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you for
Hare
joining.
Krishna Prabhu, stand up, Pranam, Jai Shri.
Okay, text number 31. भ्रश्यत्यानुस्मृतिश्चित्तं ज्ञानभ्रंशः स्मृतिक्षये तद्रोदं कवयः प्राहुरात्मापह्नवम् आत्मना. Brashyati becomes destroyed, Anusmriti constantly thinking, Chittam consciousness, Jnana Brahmshaha bereft of real knowledge, Smriti Kshaye by destruction of remembrance, Tatrodam choking that process, Kavaya great learned scholars, Prahu have opined. Where is this word? Is this a real word? Oh, it is opine. Opined. Atma of the soul. Up above. Navam destruction. Atmana of the soul. Translation. When one deviates from his original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his previous position or recognize his present one. When remembrance is lost, all knowledge that is acquired is based on a false foundation. When this occurs, lens scholars consider that the soul is lost. Oh, shit, this again. When one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost, like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass troughs on its bank. When one deviates from his original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his previous position or recognize his present one, or he becomes like blind. When remembrance is lost, all knowledge that is acquired is based on false foundation. When this occurs, learned scholars consider that the soul is lost. Purport. The living entity or the soul is ever existing and eternal. It cannot be lost, but learned scholars say that it is lost when actual knowledge is not working. That is the difference between animals and human beings. According to less intelligent philosophers, animals have no soul. But factually animals have souls. Due to the animals' gross ignorance, however, it appears that they have lost their souls. Very interesting take. That is the difference between animals and human beings. According to less intelligent philosophers, animals have no soul, but factually animals have souls. Due to animals' gross ignorance, however, it appears that they have lost their souls. Without the soul, a body cannot move. That is the difference between a living body and dead body. When the soul is out of the body is called dead. The soul is said to be lost when there is no proper knowledge exhibited. Original consciousness is Krishna consciousness because we are part and parcel of Krishna. When this consciousness is misguided and one is put into the material atmosphere, which pollutes the original consciousness, one thinks that it is product of the material elements. Thus one loses his real remembrance of his position as part and parcel of the Supreme Person of Godhead, just as man who sleeps forgets himself. In this way, when the activities of proper consciousness are checked, all the activities of the lost soul are performed on a false basis. At the present moment, human civilization is acting on a false platform of bodily identification. Therefore, it can be said that the people of the present age have lost their souls. Oh, this is crazy. Text number
Hare Krishna
30.
Prabhu, specific
Oh.
number of instances of
Oh.
Krishna Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Bang Prabhu Tandatparam Jai Shri Prabhupada. Today is a really intense reading session.
Yes, Prabhu. And can I read after the next person is reading? But after 2
Yes,
minutes.
Prabhu. You can read now.
Okay, Prabhu. I just want to go in the house. I was
Yes.
just in the car.
Very good. Text number 32. Nada parantaro loke pumshasvarta vyatikrama yadya anas yadyanyasya preyastvam atmanasva vyatikramat yadadya anyasya preyastvam. It's like that. Not. Ata, after this. Paratara, greater. Loke, in this world. Pumsha, of the living entities. Svarta, interest. Vyatikrama, obstruction. Yadadi, beyond that. Anyasya, of others. Preyastvam, to be more interesting. To be more interesting. Yeah. Atmana, for the self. Sva, own. Yatikramad, by obstruction. Translation. There is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's self-realization. There is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's self-realization. Purport. Human life is especially meant for self-realization. Self refers to the super self and the individual self, the supreme person of Godhead and the living entity. When, however, one becomes more interested in the body and bodily sense gratification, he creates for himself obstructions on the path of self-realization. By the influence of Maya, one becomes more interested in sense gratification, which is prohibited in this world for those interested in self-realization. Instead of becoming interested in sense gratification, one should divert his activities to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Soul. Anything performed contrary to this principle is certainly against one's self-interest.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
This Prabhu, now you can read. Let's see, 33. Oh, there is many.
Okay, it's like
33. We can read like 3 verses. Haribol.
okay, Prabhu. What time did you start today, Prabhu?
50 minutes ago.
Sorry, Prabhu?
Like 55 minutes ago or 50 minutes ago.
Okay. Okay. Arthaendriya Arthabidiyanam Sarvatapa Navo Narnam Param Shito Gyanam Vigyananad Yena Vishati Mukyatam. Synonyms: Atha, riches; Indriya, Atha, for the satisfaction of the senses; Abhidhyanam, constantly thinking of; Artha, 4 kinds of achievements; Apanava, destructive; Narnam, of human society; Birmshitaha, Biramshita, being devoid of; Jnanam, knowledge; Vigyanat,
Haribol. Your voice is gone. Oh, Prabhu is gone. His connection.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Yes,
Semi
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Yes,
I
Prabhu.
got disconnected. I don't know what happened there. But am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu. It's okay. Now it's good.
Okay, Vijnana, devotional service, Yena, by all this, Avi Shati enters Mukyatam, immovable life. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Gita. For human society, constantly thinking of how to earn money and apply it for sense gratification bring about the distraction of everyone's interest. When one becomes devoid of knowledge and devotional service, he enters into species of life like those of trees and stones. Can I read it again, bro? For human society, constantly thinking on how to earn money and apply it for sense gratification brings about the distraction of everyone's interest. For when one becomes devoid of knowledge and devotional service, he enters into species of life like those of trees and stones. Purport. Jnana or knowledge means to understand one's constitutional position, and Vijnana refers to practical application of that knowledge in life. In the human form of life, one should come to the position of Jnana and Vijnana. But despite of the great opportunity, if one does not develop knowledge and practical application of knowledge through the help of a spiritual master and the Shastra, in other words, if one misuse this opportunity, then the next life he is sure to be born in a species of non-moving living entities. Non-moving living entities include hills, mountains, trees, plants, etc. This stage of life is called punyatam or mukyatam, namely making all activities zero. Yo. Philosophers who support stopping all activities are called shunyavadi. By nature's own way, our activities are to be gradually diverted to devotional service, but there are philosophers who instead of purifying the activities try to make everything zero or void of all activities. This lack of activity is represented by the trees and the hills. This is a kind of punishment inflicted by the laws of nature. If we do not properly execute our mission of life in self-realization, nature's punishment will render us inactive by putting us in the form of trees and hills. Therefore, activities directed towards sense gratification and condemned herein. One who is constantly thinking of activities to earn money and gratify the senses in following a path which is suicidal. Factually, all human society is following this path some way or other. People are determined to earn money or get money by begging, borrowing, or stealing, and applying that for sense gratification. Such a civilization is the greatest obstacle in the path of self-realization. It's deep, this one, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, that's why you're saying you're battling with the Bhagavatam. You said something earlier about the Bhagavatam.
Yes, Prabhu. I said today is more intense, like reading.
Oh, it's intense. Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, because there's instructions now.
Oh, yes, yes. It's it's still Canto 4:20. Okay, it's chapter 22.
Yes, Prabhu. Usually when devotees meet, there will always be some instructions like this.
Oh, yes, yes, Prabhu.
Oh, this one is nice too.
You know it, bro. Okay, na kuryat. Okay, bro. Na kuryat karichet sangam tamasti varam titir rishu dharmartha dakama mokshanam yat adyanata vigratakama. Synonyms: na, do not; kuryat, act; kuryat, act; karichet, at any time; sangam, association; tamaha, ignorance; tirvaram, 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 with great speed; titirshu, titirshuhu, persons who desire to cross over nescience; dharma, religion; artha, economic development; kama, sense gratification; mokshanam, of salvation; yat, that which; atyanta, very much, vigratakama, obstruction or stumbling block. Translation: those who strongly desire to cross the ocean of nescience must not associate with the modes of ignorance, but hedonistic activities are the greatest obstruction to realization of religious principles, economic development, regulated sense gratification, and at last liberation. Purport: the four principles of life allow one to live according to religious principles, to earn money according to one's position in society, to allow the sense to enjoy the sense objects according to regulations, and to progress along the path of liberation from this material attachment. As long as the body is there, it is not possible to become completely free from all these material interests. It is not, however, recommended that one act only for sense gratification and earn money. For that purpose only, sacrificing all religious principles. At the present moment, human civilization does not care for religious principles. It is, however, greatly interested in economic development without religious principles. For instance, in a slaughterhouse, the butchers certainly get money easily, but such business is not based on religious principles. Similarly, there are many nightclubs for sense gratification and brothels for sex. Sex, however, is allowed in married life only, and prostitution is prohibited because all our activities are ultimately aimed at liberation, at freedom from the clutches of material existence. It is advised, therefore, that one not act in a way that will obstruct the regular process of advancement in spiritual life and liberation. The Vedic process of sense gratification is therefore planned in such a way that one can economically develop and enjoy sense gratification and yet ultimately attain liberation. Vedic civilization offers us all knowledge in the Shastras, and if we live a regulated life under the direction of Shastra and Guru, all our material desires will be fulfilled. Can I go back a little bit? Vedic civilization offers us all knowledge in the Shastra, and if we live a regulated life under the directions of Shastra and Guru, all our material desires will be fulfilled. Okay. At the same time, we will be able to go forward and to liberation. Text 35. Tatrapi moksha evarta atyantikata yeshate trai vargyo rate yato nityam kratanta baya samyutaha. Synonyms: tatra, they api, also moksha, liberation, eva, certainly, arte, for the matter of atyantikatya, most important, ishyate, taken in that way, trai vargyaha, the three others, namely religion, economic development, and sense gratification, artha, interest, yatha, where from, nityam, regularly, kritanta, death, baya, fear, samyutaha, attached. Translation: out of the four principles, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, liberation has to be taken very seriously. The other three are subject to destruction by the stringent law of nature, death. And I think these principles are also there in Canto 1, Prabhu. They are just summarized in Canto 1 too.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, is it still Prithu Maharaj? Is it him? Is it his instructions? Or is he instructing Prabhu?
I'm not sure if the Kumaras are talking. I think they are talking.
Oh, yes,
Is
Prabhu.
right? Am I right?
It is actually kind of deep, eh?
Yes, Prabhu.
Just want to read maybe 5 more. Yeah, Maharaj, Lord. Purport: moksha or liberation has to be taken very seriously, even at the sacrifice of the other three items. As advised by Sutta Goswami in the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, religious principles are not based on success in economic development, because we are very attached to sense gratification, we go to God, to the temple or churches for some economic reasons. Then again, economic development does not mean sense gratification. Everything should be adjusted in such a way that we attain liberation. Therefore, oh, Prithu Maharaj meeting with the four Kumaras. In this verse, liberation, moksha, is stressed. The other three items are material and therefore subject to distraction. Even if somehow we accumulate a great bank balance in this life and possess it, and possess Prabhu.
Prabhu, you're muted.
Oh, it was actually out again, Prabhu. I don't know what happened, but I'm back. Okay, let me continue. Even if somehow we accumulate a great bank balance in this life and possess many material things, everything will be finished with death. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that death is the supreme personality of Godhead who ultimately takes away everything acquired by the materialistic persons. Foolishly, we do not care for this. Foolishly, we are not afraid of death, nor do we consider that death will take away everything acquired by the process of dharma, artha, and karma. By karma, by dharma or pious activities, we may be elevated to the heavenly planets, but this does not mean freedom from the clutches of birth, death, old age, and disease. The purport is that we can sacrifice our interest in Vargya, religious principles, economic development, and sense gratification, but we cannot sacrifice the cause of liberation. Regarding liberation, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punya janma na iti. Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Liberation means that after giving up this body, one does not have to accept another material body. But to the impersonalist, liberation means merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. But factually, this is not moksha, because one has to again fall down into this material world from that impersonal position. One should therefore seek the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in his devotional service. That is a real liberation. The conclusion is that we should not stress pious activities, economic development, and sense gratification, but should concern ourselves with approaching Lord Vishnu in his spiritual planet, of which the topmost is Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna lives. Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement is the greatest gift for persons who are actually desiring liberation. Text
Go.
36.
Okay, this is last one.
Which one, Prabhu?
Oh, it's
Text 36.
yeah, this is last one.
Yeah, it will be the last one, Prabhu. It's not that long.
Yes, bro.
Pare vare cha ye bhava guna vyakti karat tanu na tesham vidyate kshemam isha vidava sitashi sham. Synonyms: pare in the higher status of life, avare in the lower status of life, cha and ye all those, bhava conceptions, guna material qualities, vyati karat by interaction, anu following, na nevatesham of them, vidyate exist, kshemam correction, isha the Supreme Lord, vidava sita destroyed, ashisham of the blessings. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We accept as blessings different states of higher life, distinguishing them from lower states of life, but we should know that such distinctions exist only in relation to the interchange of the modes of material nature. Actually, these states of life have no permanent existence, for all of them will be destroyed by the supreme controller. Can I reread it? We accept as blessings different states of higher life, distinguishing them from lower states of life. But we should know that such distinctions exist only in relation to the interchange of the modes of material nature. Actually, these states of life have no permanent existence, for all of them will be destroyed by the supreme controller. Purport: in other material existence, we accept a higher form of life as a blessing and a lower form as a curse. These distinctions of higher and lower only exist as long as the different material qualities, gunas, interact. In other words, by our good activities, we are elevated to higher planetary systems, to a higher standard of life. Good education, beautiful body, etc. These are the results of pious activities. Similarly, by impious activities, we remain illiterate, get ugly bodies, a pure standard of life, living, etc. But all these different states of life are under the law of material nature through the interaction of the qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. However, all these qualities will cease to act at the time of the dissolution of the entire cosmic manifestation. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punya Avaratino Arjuna, Mam Upetya Tu Kamteya Punya Janma Na Vidyate, Bhagavad Gita 8.16. All our miseries. Even though we elevate ourselves to the highest planetary systems by the scientific advancement of knowledge or by the religious principles of life, great sacrifice and fruitive activities, at the time of dissolution, these higher planetary systems and life on them will be destroyed. The words in this verse, Isha Vidyavam Sita Isha Sham, yeah? Vidyavam Sita Shisham, indicate that all such blessings will be destroyed by the supreme controller. We will not be protected. Our bodies, either in this planet or in another planet, will be destroyed, and again we have to remain for millions of years in an unconscious state within the bodies of Mahavishnu. And again, when the creation is manifested, we have to take birth in different species of life and begin our activities. Therefore, we should not be satisfied simply by a promotion to the higher planetary systems. We should try to get out of the material cosmic manifestation, go to the spiritual world, and take shelter of the supreme personality of Godhead. That is our highest achievement. We should not be attracted by anything material, higher or lower, but should consider them all on the same platform. You can go down, bro. Same level. Our real Our real engagement should be in inquiring about the real purpose of life and rendering devotional service to the Lord. Thus, we will be eternally blessed in our spiritual activities, full of knowledge and bliss. Regulated human civilization promotes Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. In human society, there must be religion. Without religion, human society is only animal society. Economic development and sense gratification must be based on religious principles. When religion, economic development, and sense gratification are adjusted, liberation from this material birth, death, old age, and disease is assured. In the present age of Kali, however, there is no question of religion and liberation. People have taken interest in economic development and sense gratification. Therefore, despite sufficient economic development all over the world, dealings in human society have become almost animalistic. When everything becomes grossly animalistic, dissolution takes place. This dissolution is to be accepted as Isha Vidyava Sita Shisham. The Lord's so-called blessings of economic development and sense gratification will be conclusively dissolved by distraction. At the end of this Kali Yoga, the Lord will appear as the incarnation of Kalki, and his only business will be to kill all human beings on the surface of the globe. After that, killing, another golden age will begin, not given. We should therefore know that our material activities are just like childish play. Children may play on the beach and the father will be and sit. Okay, children may play on the beach and the father will sit and watch this child play, the construction of buildings with sand, the constructions of walls, and so many things. But finally, the father will ask the children to come home. Then everything is destroyed. Persons who are too much addicted to the childish activities of economic development and sense gratification are sometimes especially favored by the Lord when He destroys the constructions of these things. It is said by the Lord, Yasyaham anugra nami harishye tat dharnam Shanai. The Lord told Yudhishthira Maharaj that his special favor is shown to his devotees when he takes away all his material opulence. Generally, therefore, it is experienced that Vaishnavas are not very opulent in the material sense. When a Vaishnava, pure devotee, tries to be materially opulent and at the same time desires to serve the Supreme Lord, his devotional service is checked. The Lord, in order to show him a special favor, destroys his so-called economic development and material opulences, thus the devotee be frustrated in his repeated attempts at economic development, ultimately takes solid shelter under the lotus feet of the Lord. This kind of action may also be accepted as Isha Vidyavam Sita Shisham, whereby the Lord destroys one's material opulences but enriches him in spiritual understanding. In the course of our preaching work, we sometimes can go down, Prabhu. See that materialistic persons come to us and offer their obeisances to take blessings, which means they want more and more material opulences. If such material opulences are checked, such persons are no longer interested in offering obeisances to their devotees. Such materialistic persons are always concerned about their economic development. They offer obeisances to saintly persons or the Supreme Lord and give something in charity for preaching work with a view that they will be rewarded with further economic development. However, when one is sincere in his devotional service, the Lord obliges the devotees to give up his material development and completely surrender unto him. Because the Lord does not give blessings or of material opulences to his devotee. People are afraid of worshipping Lord Vishnu because they see that the Vaishnavas who are worshippers of Lord Vishnu are poor in superficial material opulences. Such materialistic persons, however, get immense opportunity for economic development by worshipping Lord Shiva. For Lord Shiva is the husband of goddess Durga. Yeah, Lord Shiva is the husband of the goddess Durga, and Durga is the proprietor of this universe. By the grace of Lord Shiva, a devotee gets the opportunity to be blessed by the goddess Durga. Ravana, for example, was a great worshipper of and devotee of Lord Shiva, and in return, he got all the blessings of Durga Devi so much that his whole kingdom was constructed of golden buildings. In Brazil, in this present age, huge quantities of gold have been found, and from historical references in the Puranas, we can guess safely that this was Ravana's kingdom. This kingdom was, however, destroyed by Lord Ramachandra. By studying such incidents, we can understand the full meaning of Isha Vidyavam Sita Shisham. The Lord does not bestow material blessings upon the devotees, for they may be entrapped again in this material world by continuous birth, death, old age, and disease due to materialistic opulences. Persons like Ravana become puffed up for sense gratification. Ravana even did kidnap Sita, who was both the wife of Lord Ramachandra and the goddess of fortune, thinking that he would be able to Sita, who was both the wife of Lord Ramachandra and the goddess of fortune, thinking that he would be able to enjoy the pleasure potency of the Lord. But actually, by such action, Ravana became Vidavamsita, or ruin. At the present moment, human civilization is too much attached to economic development and sense gratification and is therefore nearing the path of ruination. Siddharth Prabhu, it's 4.22, verse 33. I think reading session it's almost nearing to the end. You said it's the last time, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Wants to start 6 Astakam prayers?
Yes, Prabhu. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava mahadavad nirvapanam shreya kaivachandika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam burdi vardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatmasnapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नामकारिकमतानि च सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पितानि अमिता स्मरणेन कालाय तादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशमिह जनिनानुरागः
Trinarapi sunichena taro api sahishnuna amanina manadina girdaniya sadahari.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितं वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
Ainandatanuja yinkaram patitamam vishame bhavam budo kripaya tvavapada pankaja stitadoli satrasham vichintaya.
नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदारुदया गिरा पुलकर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति
Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahe name.
अश्लिष्य वा पातरतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदता तुलम्पतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः
Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want you causes devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal savior, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Haribo, Shri Sastam Ki Jai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai.
Yeah.
Baujanmakaya Vishamana Kirtan, Taputanapa Krishna Pada Premadan. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many birds, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense, to consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Third offense, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master or consider him as an ordinary person.
Fourth offense, to blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures in pursuance of that Vedic version.
Fifth offense, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination.
Sixth offense, to give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord.
Seventh offense, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord.
Eighth offense, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda.
Ninth offense, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
10th offense, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desired trees, and they are full of compassion for their fallen souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo Nanda Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya
Jai.
Srila Haridas Thakur ki
Jai.
jai,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Nitya Gaura Premanande, Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol, Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your association. Really nice reading session.
Thank you, Prabhu.
That's
Did you
very
watch the Q&A, Prabhu?
Half of it. I need to watch the beginning now.
Okay, Prabhu.
Now I will go to market to buy rice. Haribol.
Haribo. Prabhu, can you please reshare with me what do you call this? Is it the roti? I lost the ingredients and you once gave me.
Oh yes, Prabhu. It's just wheat and oil.
Yes,
But I
Prabhu.
send it.
Please.
I find it. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.